I was on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. And I was adding things to my collection of my Selena board. I've been a long time massive fan of Selena Quintanilla Perez, for those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, the Mexican-American singer who was killed back in 1995 by her fan club president when she was only 23 years old. Anyway, huge fan of her. It goes really deep for me. And I was kind of adding pictures to my board and, you know, also planning future videos, tributes, you know, things I might want to put together here on the channel for her. And, you know, I was reading in and out of different articles. You know, of course, on Pinterest, if you click a picture, not only can you collect pictures and, you know, beautiful things, create boards, but all of those pictures have a link. When you click on them, they will take you to different articles and different websites and different information that you can buy and whatnot. Well, in one of them, it led me to an article, caught my attention, and it was regarding Selena's killer, Yolanda Saldivar, who is still serving out her life prison sentence. She got life, but eligible for parole in 30 years. I guess she was sentenced back in 95 or 96. And my God, it just took my breath away to think that that time has already passed. That time has already gone by. Saldivar is now 60 years old, and she is still incarcerated. And I saw where it said she may be eligible for parole in 2025. You know, and we just had the 25th anniversary of Selena's death, and oh, so much going on with that. Over the years, you know, I've kind of checked in on her family and her siblings and where they are and how they're doing. And her widower, Chris Perez, they were just so very young when this happened, and how he's doing. And I know that he's recently released a book, To Selena with Love, and I would love to have that book. I had several books about Selena that were written after her passing. So anyway, I clicked the link to read into this about Yolanda possibly gaining parole. You know, I went down that rabbit hole. I was like, oh, hell no. Hell no. There's no way. You know, and I clicked into the article, and then I was led to this creepy interview of Yolanda back in 1998, just a few short years after she had murdered Selena. And I watched the interview. I'd seen it before, but I watched it again, and I took in her demeanor, her attitude, the way she spoke, the way her body language, the way she smiled, and just that whole demeanor. The woman is creepy, and she's evil, very manipulative, and the public knows it. You know, they said so in the interview, in the narrative, that they felt like, of course, she was lying and being manipulative. In this interview from 1998, she was basically trying to say that during the time she shot and killed Selena, that she was actually trying to protect Selena. And now there's a lot to this story, okay? It's public record. I'm not filling in the blanks right now. I'm just speaking about what I specifically saw today, and, you know, regarding her killer. I do plan to do more videos about Selena's life, though, because she's one of those people that I have a lot to say about. And I would love to do a couple videos about her and her life, and tribute to her, what she brought to the world in her very short lifetime I have children older than her, and it just takes my breath away. As a mother, as a parent, as a fan, as a woman, as a person, a human, it just takes my breath away how she was cheated. Anyway, back to Yolanda. In the interview, this was way back in 98, she was trying to tell the public and people, investigators, that she was trying to protect Selena and that there was information regarding a secret diary and videotape that would bring all of this truth to light, that there had been an extortion plan, that someone was going to try and extort Selena, and that they had actually attacked Yolanda and beat her up, but she had managed to get away, and that she had really been trying to protect Selena, and that she had all of this in a safety deposit box down in Monterrey, Mexico. And just the way she talked about this, she was so evasive and weird in her body language in this interview. You could tell it was bullshit, you know, but investigators thought, you know, people thought, this would be of no benefit to Yolanda to send investigators and the media and the public on a wild goose chase for evidence that doesn't exist. How the hell? That wouldn't benefit her at all. It wouldn't help her trial. It wouldn't help to clear her name. She still shot Selena. I mean, what the F? That's what these people were thinking. So even her attorney, who later decided to remove himself from her case, even he, you know, thought, well, we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. This surely has got to be true, this evidence, this diary, and these tapes, and this extortion plan against Selena that Yolanda was trying to protect her from. So they thought, it's got to be true, because what kind of a moron would sit here and make up a wild story and a wild goose chase like that if it's not even going to clear your name? It's just, even if they did find evidence, so what? It would bring more of the context to the whole situation, and it might implicate more people, but it wasn't going to clear Yolanda. So anyway, they went to check this out. They went to dozens of banks in Monterrey, Mexico, safety deposit boxes. There was no evidence. There was no safety deposit box. There was no diary. There was no tapes. There was no... So the whole thing turned out to be this wild goose chase, you know? And that's when her attorney decided, you know what? I'm not going to represent Yolanda anymore. And this was many years ago, okay? This was still back in the late 90s. Since then, Yolanda has aged in prison. She's been there. She's 60 now. And so, you know, I went through all this morning, and it brought back this gut-wrenching feeling. I am going to do more videos about this case, about Selena, her family, tributes to her, and specifically her relationship with Yolanda Saldivar, who I personally feel like has that same mentality of a covert narcissist, which I've talked a lot about on my channel, and in other cases, the Chris Watts murder case, where he murdered his young wife and children. I've been studying and putting patterns together, people with this certain personality type, for several years now. And it all started because of a relationship I was in. A very toxic relationship with a person who had a personality disorder. I later learned it was a personality disorder of some kind, but he had a personality that was very strange that I just could not identify. And there's a lot going on in his life that would actually make a person act weird. Yes, he had lost a child. He was an alcoholic. He had terrible trauma issues. He had all these things going on. Of course, that would make a person a little off. But no, after living with him for almost 6 years, I began to see more and more strange behavior, more and more strange thinking patterns, the way I was treated by him, the way I was mentally and emotionally abused, the way he operated with people, how he thought, how he did things in life. It was very odd, very off. And it became a hell of a situation to have to live in. While I was living in that, that is when I just accidentally ran across the Shanann Watts murder case. Almost like a guardian angel landed on my back or something. And that is when I learned of her and the murder of She and the Children by Chris Watts. And that is when I went in depth into that case for 2 or 3 years and learned about his personality type, really took in his energy and all of the facts of the case and how he grew up and all of the contributing factors. And I'm seeing patterns here from the relationship I was in. Then I began to identify as I studied the Watts case and the dynamics between Chris and his wife Shanann. I also learned a lot, and I was able to start to put some puzzle pieces together and identify a lot of the dynamics of my own relationship and the personality type of the man I was living with. Now, Chris Watts and Yolanda Saldivar, while studying the Watts case, I thought of Yolanda. That personality type, okay, a snake. The covert narcissistic type is different from all other narcissistic types. They do not present like a narcissist. And there's a lot I have to break down about narcissism too that I've learned over the last few years that I think you guys will find very interesting, very insightful. But anyway, coming back to the topic of Yolanda, I just have so much to say and so much to share. It's been a while. I've been off the channel. I haven't put out videos in a while. I've had so much happen to me and so much going on, but I'm ready to get back at it full force. And, you know, hopefully be able to create some interesting and insightful material for you guys. But back to Yolanda, you know, while studying the Shanann Watts murder case and learning about Chris Watts and his personality type, I began to, you know, that's what we do. And there's people out there that say things like, oh, you know, don't apply this to your own life. Don't make it about you. You're always going to see different opinions and perspectives and people taking it out of context and shitty comments on social media or wherever you are. Don't make this about you. Don't make that murder about you and this about your life. And just because whatever happened to you, don't project that onto that person or their family. But you know what? It's not about that. It's not about that. For me, it's about profound learning and insight and beginning to, wow, really see patterns in certain personality types and to be able to recognize certain things going on and then to be able to identify it and recognize it in your own life. So personally for me, accidentally stumbling upon Shanann Watts and her story and who she was as a person, and then her husband and who he was and how that all went down in that family, it helped me at a terribly hard time. It reminded me to get my focus back on track of what I actually stood for in this world and what I was allowing my partner to get away with. And that even though it hadn't already occurred, that his behavior, as much as I loved him and as much as there were good and fun times, his behavior was scary. And I knew deep down inside that I really didn't need to allow myself to be alone with him any longer. So for me personally, I will say finding Shanann Watts and that whole case, as horrific as it was, and sad and horrible, it helped me at a time that I was going through something really scary and trapped in a situation, and it reminded me, you can't let this go on. You've got to take action. You've got to keep educating yourself, identifying these issues. And if this is something that is not going to resolve itself, it could become even more dangerous, even deadly to one of you. And you need to get out. Okay? So that reminded me when I ran across that case. And also, at the same time, when I ran across that case, I ran across it in 2020, the fall of 2020. Shanann and her children lost their life in August of 2018. So I was 2 years behind. And again, when when that case came into my life and I began studying it, making videos about it, I also thought of Selena. Yep, Shanann, and even though she wasn't a singer, a performer, such as Selena, totally different backgrounds, totally different lifestyles, I still saw these patterns. I saw the beautiful light in both of them. I saw the talent. Shanann was bright and intelligent and giving and creative and motivated and driven. And then I saw Chris, the covert narcissist, jealous, envious, resentful, on your side as a person who loves you, as a friend, as someone you can trust and count on. However, not a poser, a snake. That's what covert narcissists are. Hoping for your downfall. Some of them will bring you to your downfall. They will do everything they can. Some of them will go as far as murder, as in the case of Yolanda Saldivar and Chris Watts. Those two people, I'm going to do some videos on the similarities that I see in their personalities. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not any of those things. But this is one of my passions. It's something that interests me. And just basically spreading awareness. I like to leave things up for interpretation. Basically, I like to provoke public thinking. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm doing in my videos. This is a thought. This is a thought. That's a thought. Did you guys notice this? What do you think about that? You know, and spread awareness like that, you know, and to also share what I've learned from cases like that and what I've seen in my own life, what I've had to experience and live through with personality types like that, what I've learned from them. You know, it's basically just that, wanting to share that type of thing. And when it comes to content creating and speaking publicly, anytime you put something out publicly, there's always going to be somebody that is offended or takes your work and takes it to a context that you don't even know anything about, that it has nothing to do with. They're going to take it, they're going to twist the narrative, and they're going to take it here and they're going to take it there. You can't care about that. You know, you have to speak from the heart, do what you do, and there's always going to be people that, you know, you may get dozens of negative comments, negative backlash. You're trying to do this, you're trying to do that. Just do what you do. And if anything, what's that old saying about publicity or attention? If anything, you know, that you just have to get past stuff like that as a content creator or anyone with any type of goal, work, vision, anything you want to do, especially if it's publicly placed. People are always going to try to stop you. They're always going to have something negative to say. Okay. So in order to get past that, where you don't even let that be a glitch in your brain and affect your work or what you're doing, think about it like this. The more negative commentary you get, a lot of people do shit like that on purpose. Yeah, they do. It's a thing. Fucking up their grammar, making the title a little bit off, saying things that, you know, are clearly not true occasionally in a video. They will do things on purpose. Yes, so that droves and droves of people will stop by and go, hey, did you know that was wrong? It's human nature to want to do that, to want to correct, to want to, you know, hey, let people know whatever. They just can't stand it. And do you know what happens then? All of that attention in their comments, even if it was negative, we hate you, you're wrong, your work is crappy, what you said is blah, blah, blah. And, you know, people will say anything. You could be speaking about something really deep and really intelligent or really fun or whatever the case, And they're going to pick out the stupidest shit to leave a comment about. So many people do that. I can't tell you how many times I've been talking about something emotional and whatever, and people will leave me comments about, did you know your teeth are crooked? Yes, baby. I think I do. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, you get to a point in life and it's like, am I supposed to sit and hide in my closet because my teeth are crooked? You know, people don't know your story. They don't know. So you have to find whatever it is that you're passionate about. If it's speaking, if it's sharing, if it's creating, whatever it is, you have to go forward with it. So just wanted to put that out there because that's always going to happen. People are going to take it the wrong way. Why you even want to discuss these matters? Why you're even fond of these people? What is it all about? Well, the thing is, for me, anybody that I would care to cover, with the exception of Shanann Watts, that's pretty recent. Anybody that I would care to cover on my YouTube channel or go as far as making a memorial to them or discuss their life. I've always loved life stories of others and biographies, always, since I was a little girl. It inspires me. I learn from it. I'm just very profoundly and deeply interested in the lives of others, the life they lived, how they grew up, how they went about doing things, what this life experience was about for them, what it meant to them, yada, yada, etc., etc. Yes. You know, people will often question why. Why do you pick this one? Why do you talk about that one? Let that go. Why they're not even here? You know, why? You're just shallow. People will bash you and question and say horrible things. And, you know, you could be a person that it meant something so profound and so real to you in a time of pain or darkness. And that's why you're sharing about that topic or that person. They don't know. So that's what I'm saying. Oftentimes, the negative comments and the bashers and the haters and the online trolls, they just bring more attention. All those comments, and they just, there you go in the algorithm, and your work is going to be seen more and more. So I'm just saying, I think it's almost funny in a way. A lot of times people will do shit on purpose in their videos and in their title. They'll screw up their grammar a little bit, or they'll make a mistake that's really obvious. That's right. And people fall into that trap. It works like a charm. I see the trolls diving in head first on attack, with their comments. And little do they know that, yes, they are helping. They're actually helping that content creator get more views and stay relevant. So I think people are catching on to that more and more now, but at first they weren't. Even me, you know, a few years back when I was researching and, you know, learning more about content creating, I ran across a literal instructional video, a woman doing a tutorial on content creating, and she was literally instructing people to make mistakes. Do things that are going to irritate people. It's basic psychology. Do things that are going to not necessarily be aggressive and offensive, but she was literally telling people to do this to drive more traffic to their videos. I'm like, what the hell? People will do anything these days for views, you know, because ultimately, yeah, they're trying to gain whatever their vision is and where they want to go. I think that is pretty shallow. But also at the same time, I think it's pretty clever. I think the psychology of it, when you find out that that's what's going on, it's like, oh. But yeah, in a way, it is manipulative. It is misleading. But, you know, on some level, I respect it. It's clever. Personally, I wouldn't really care to go down that road. I just want to say what I have to say and take my chances. You know, I don't want to have to jump through hoops or do a bunch of weird shit, trick people and to expand my views. I'll just take my chances, you know, but it is what it is. All right, guys, back to Yolanda, though. I'm going to clip this one because it's already almost at 25 minutes, but I do want to get out another video or two getting into Yolanda Saldivar. and how she took Selena's life, and the personality type of Yolanda that I have seen before in my personal life and in my close relationships on certain people. And I have also seen it before in other murder cases. That same personality type, the covert narcissist, how they worm their way into your life, and they always have this cutie pie, sweet, I'm your best friend. I'm just so sweet and nice and innocent, and I'm just all about you. And they always have, they are the nice guys, the nice girls, so sweet of the narcissistic world. They're the ones you will never detect. They're the ones that are very, very hard to detect. But if you're around them long enough, beneath that kind, sweet, giving exterior, little by little, you will start to get prickles about them. You will start to, am I tripping? This is a poser. This person is phony. There's something off about them. There's something wrong. The longer you're around them, you will begin to feel that way. And generally, it's only the person that they don't let everybody see that. That's why they're usually very careful. They tend to be very quiet when they're around a bunch of strangers or a bunch of people. They're the more reserved and shy type of narcissist because they only show this peculiar shit generally to the romantic partner or the person that they are at home behind closed doors with, that they feel safe enough to even be that vulnerable. They have to let that guard down sometimes. So it will usually be around their husband or wife, romantic partner at home, or their best friend, something like that. They're very guarded about it, okay? But yeah, I do want to get into, I'll make a part 2 to this, and I want to get into that whole story, how I see these patterns. And that's exactly what Yolanda Saldivar did. She wormed her way in to the Quintanilla family, Selena's family, like a snake. And I will get into all of that in part 2. Similarly, Chris Watts, the Chris Watts murder case, he murdered his wife and his 2 little daughters. Similarly, I believe Chris Watts, very, very similar personality to Yolanda Saldivar, covert narcissistic. He also wormed his way into Shanann's wife, and she had her reservations about it, and her instincts were right at first. And he pushed and he pushed with his nice guy, I'm so great antics, and he won her over. But I see some big similarities between Yolanda Saldivar and Chris Watts. So I have a lot more to say on this topic, and I'll do that in part 2, guys. Thank you for watching.